You can do anything. Welcome back to Echo English. What if I told you that the biggest prison in the world has no walls, no guards, and no locks? It is the prison built inside your own mind. Every time you say, I am not smart enough, I am too late, people like me can't succeed, or it is impossible, you are placing another brick in that invisible prison. The truth is, most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they stop themselves before life even gets the chance to test them. Your limits are often not reality, they are stories you have repeated so many times that they now feel like facts. Think about a baby learning to walk. It falls hundreds of times yet it never concludes, walking isn't for me. It simply stands up and tries again. Somewhere along the way, we lose that fearless mindset. We become afraid of looking foolish, making mistakes, or hearing no. Slowly, our dreams become smaller, not because life shrinks them, but because our fear does. Imagine a young eagle raised among chickens. Every day it watches the chickens scratch the ground, flap their wings a little, and never leave the farm. The eagle begins to believe that flying is impossible because no one around it ever does. Then one day it looks up and sees another eagle soaring effortlessly through the sky. In that moment, it realizes something life changing. It was never created to stay on the ground. The only thing keeping it there was what it believed about itself. Many of us live exactly like that eagle. We compare ourselves to people who are also afraid instead of learning from those who dare to fly. Every great achievement in history began as something people called impossible. Before airplanes, humans believed flying belonged only to birds. Before space travel, reaching the moon sounded like fantasy. Before smartphones, carrying a powerful computer in your pocket seemed unimaginable. The world changes because someone refuses to accept the word impossible. What seems ordinary today was once considered absurd. Progress belongs to those who question limits instead of obeying them. But believing you can do anything doesn't mean success happens overnight. It doesn't mean every attempt will work. It means you become the kind of person who keeps learning, adopting, and trying until something finally works. Success isn't built by one giant leap, it is built by thousands of small decisions made consistently. Choosing discipline over excuses, action over fear, and persistence over comfort. Every small improvement brings you closer to a version of yourself that once seemed impossible. There will always be people who doubt you. Some will laugh at your dreams. Others will tell you to be realistic because they gave up on their own ambitions long ago. Don't let someone else's fear become your future. People judge based on what they have experienced, not on what you are capable of becoming. Your future doesn't need their permission. Whenever you feel like giving up, remember this. Every expert was once a beginner, every champion was once unknown, and every successful person once faced failure. The difference is that they didn't let failure become their identity. They treated it as a lesson, not a life sentence. Your mistakes don't define your potential. Your willingness to keep going does. So stop asking whether you are capable enough. Start asking whether you are willing to put in the effort. Talent may open a door, but consistency keeps it open. Confidence isn't something you are born with, it is something you build by keeping promises to yourself every single day. The life you want is often waiting on the other side of the fear you are avoiding. You really can do extraordinary things not because you are perfect, but because human potential is far greater than most people ever discover. The only person you can truly decide how far you go is the person you see in the mirror every morning. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that every limit you have ever believed about yourself simply disappeared. No fear, no doubt, no voice telling you are not good enough. Who would you become? What would you try? Where would your life go? The truth is, every human being enters this world with incredible potential. Yet, as we grow older, that potential slowly becomes buried beneath fear, failure, criticism, and comparison. A child dreams without limits, but an adult often measures every dream against every past disappointment. Over time, we stop asking what is possible and begin asking what if I fail. That single question has silently stolen more dreams than failure itself ever has. Imagine a tiny seed resting beneath the soil. If you judged it by what you could see, you would call it small, weak, and lifeless. But hidden inside that seed is an entire forest waiting to exist. It doesn't become a giant tree overnight, it grows quietly, one root at a time, one leaf at a time, one season at a time. Human potential works the same way. Greatness is rarely loud in the beginning. It starts in silence through small actions repeated every day. Most people believe that successful people are different. They imagine they were born with extraordinary intelligence, talent, and luck. But look closely and you will find something else. They simply refuse to let temporary failure become a permanent identity. Every setback became a lesson. Every rejection became another reason to improve. Every obstacle became another step forward. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not against other people. It is against the version of yourself that whispers, maybe you are not enough. That voice sounds convincing because it has spoken to you for years. But remember this, just because a thought repeats itself doesn't make it true. Fear speaks loudly, but it does not speak with authority. Remember the eagle story again. Many people live exactly like that eagle. They allow their environment to define their future. They let the opinions of others become the boundaries of their own lives. But your surroundings do not determine your destiny, your decisions do. You can learn new skills, you can change your habits, you can become stronger than your fears. You can begin again, even after countless failures. The human brain has an incredible ability to adapt, grow, and learn throughout life. Every time you practice, every time you refuse to quit, you are literally shaping a better version of yourself. Will the journey be easy? No. There will be days when progress feels invisible. There will be moments when giving up seems easier than moving forward. But remember the seed beneath the soil. Long before anyone sees the tree, the roots are growing in darkness. Just because you cannot see your progress doesn't mean it isn't happening. Years from now, your future self will look back at this chapter of your life. The only question is this: will that person thank you for taking the first step, or wonder what life could have been if you had only believed in yourself? You don't need permission to chase your dreams. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need to know every answer before you begin. You only need the courage to take the next step. Because the distance between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is often just a series of small decisions made with consistency, patience, and faith. So today, choose to believe that your story is still being written. Choose to believe that your greatest chapter hasn't happened yet. Choose to believe that you are capable of far more than your fears have allowed you to imagine. Because deep inside you is a potential that has been waiting patiently for the moment you finally decide to believe. And perhaps the most important question you will ever ask yourself is this: if you truly believed you could do anything, what would you do first? The story of the elephant who forgot his strength. In the heart of a vast forest lived a young elephant named Arin. From the day he was born, he was tied to a thick wooden stake with a heavy rope. As a calf, Arin pulled with all his strength, but he was too small. He tried again the next day and the next day. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Every attempt ended the same way. The rope held him back. Eventually, Arin stopped trying. Years passed, the tiny elephant grew into one of the largest animals in the forest. His legs became as strong as tree trunks, and his body could push over fallen logs with ease. At every morning, the same old rope was tied around his leg. It was no longer thick or strong. In fact, with one gentle pull, he could have snapped it like a piece of dry grass. But Ari never tried. One afternoon, a little sparrow landed on the rope and laughed softly. "Why don't you leave?" she asked. Arin sighed. "I can't. I have tried many times before. This rope is too strong." The sparrow looked at the enormous elephant and then at the worn out rope. She smiled. "No," she said. "The rope isn't strong. Your memory is." Those words echoed through Arin's mind. For the first time in years, he looked at the rope instead of his past. Had he really been defeated by the rope or by the belief that it could never be broken? That night, the forest was silent. The moonlight painted silver lines across the ground. Arin took one deep breath and slowly leaned forward. The rope became tight. His heart raced. Every memory of failure returned at once. He almost stopped, but this time he took one more step. Snap! The rope broke instantly. Arin froze. He couldn't believe it. The thing that had controlled his entire life had fallen apart in a single moment. It had never been the rope that imprisoned him, it was the belief he had carried since childhood. As he walked freely through the forest for the very first time, he realized something that changed him forever. The greatest chains are rarely made of iron, they are made of old failures, painful memories, and the quiet voice that says, "You can't." From that day on, Arin became known as the wisest elephant in the forest. Whenever a young animal said, "I can't do it," he would simply smile and ask, "Are you being held back by reality or by a rope that no longer exists?" Many years later, the story of Orange spread beyond the forest. It reminded everyone who heard it that the limits they feared were often only the shadows of their past. Perhaps you are carrying a rope like Orange, a failure that convinced you are not smart enough, a rejection that made you believe you are not worthy, a mistake that whispered you will never succeed. But ask yourself this: is that rope still real? Or have you simply forgotten how strong you have become? Because sometimes the only thing standing between the life you have and the life you dream of is the courage to pull one more time. And when you finally do, you may discover what aren't discovered under the moonlight sky. You were never too weak, you only forgot how powerful you had become.